What is up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Upper Cervical Corner. My name is Dr. Kramer, and I am here to really help us gain wisdom and insight into navigating health-related decisions that impact us. I understand that many of us are on an uphill battle in how we choose to navigate what health is. We have a ton of information thrown at us from Instagram, from Twitter, from our news sources, from our MDs, our DOs, from our pharmaceutical companies, etc. And I guess today, what I have decided after a long reflection this last weekend is to start with the basics. And I think the basics are a really great place to share an understanding of what we are trying to achieve, one as an upper cervical practice, but two as empowering people to really have the ability to navigate these conversations and understand what we say and what our terms mean. Because let's be real, when we're sick, when we're trying to navigate being sick, most of the time we are struggling to think. And we take our broken self in a state of vulnerability and we go into a practitioner and we seek wisdom, we seek advice. And depending upon our orientation, we may turn towards Western medicine. We may turn towards more of the functional, alternative medicine. We may turn to a combination of both. But what I want you to know is that there are normative values, there are normals that we need to know before we choose to engage a practitioner. And so today, what I've done is I've gone into a screen share situation in which you are going to have the opportunity to really engage with me on navigating this beautiful thing that we call health. And so, in the upper cervical world, my biggest concern is how is your nervous system performing? And recently, it has dawned on me, I don't know why, after 8 years in practice, that when I say nervous system, people have a huge range of ideas of what the nervous system means. And so I needed to consolidate this. And I thought that, watching Magic School Bus as a second grader, that we would all have a basic understanding of this because this is not a complicated discussion. This is a very, very easy discussion for us. But since it's medical, we want to complicate it. We want to freak out. And so human anatomy is very, very easy. I think any mammalian anatomy is very, very easy. And so when I say nervous system, I don't mean muscles. I don't mean your stomach. I don't mean your heart. I don't mean your lungs. I don't mean your bowel or bladder, right? I don't mean these things. When I say nervous system, what I am talking about is very simple. Number one, we're going to have your brain. And this is super easy, right? This is something that all of us should have and we should all understand. It's very, very simple. We have a brain, right? That's not complicated. We also have what is called a brain stem. That's a super important structure. Really, really awesome, right? We have these ideas. So our brain, right, if we were to cut it in half, this is where our thoughts exist, right? This is where we think, right? And this is more of instinct, right? This is where we, sense things, right? Where our blood pressure, right? You're gonna have things like blood pressure, you're gonna have things like your heart rate, you're gonna control body temperature back here, right? This is gonna be your vision, right? This is where things are gonna be happening on that backside of the brain, right? Especially in the brain stem. Brainstem is going to be a filter, right? That's something that's super important. So this is our central nervous system. This is what we're talking about. We have these ideas, right? We have our brain, we have our structure there, we have our brain stem, we have that super important structure. We have our functions, right? This is a frontal lobe structure, what we do, etc. It's not hard, right? It's not a muscle, it's not a ligament. It's just, it is, right? We have our brain. It's how we think, it's how we associate, how we interpret things, how we have memory, right? That's another interesting piece of this, right? It's where we have cognition, right? Our thinking, our ability to really like go through this stuff, right? Think again, right? Cognition, all important things, right? These are all really, really great things. And so when we talk about this, when I say, hey, I'm really interested in the health of your nervous system, that's what I'm talking about. That's piece of it, right? Piece number one. Piece number one is going to be your brain and your brain stem. As we go down here, we have piece number two, and this is going to come from your brain stem, and it's going to run way down. It's going to make a shape like this. It's going to be your spinal cord, right? For many of you, if you haven't watched Magic School Bus, this is really simple. The spinal cord is going to be your highway, right? That's a good analogy for you. It's how we send messages down and messages up. That's like normal for us, right? That's what our spinal cord does. So after our brainstem, we get down to this, information highway. We're going up and down, sending these messages. And part number three of your nervous system is what you all begin with, what most people begin with, is your body, right? Because you wouldn't have a body if you didn't have a nervous system. Nervous system animates everything. It controls everything. So your body is under control of the nervous system. So your body has to, one, receive messages from the nervous system. Hey, it's a little warm out today. I'm going to start sweating. Two, hey, start sweating, right? It's kind of what that does. I'm tired, go to sleep, right? Or let's go the opposite. I'm tired, go to sleep, right? You have these circles, these messages that are sent back and forth. So in simplicity, when we look at this whole entire thing, if we did this, we have a brain. This is going to be where the power is created, right? Then we have the messaging system, which is going to be the spinal cord, right? This is how you send power and also receive power. And then you have the end stage, which is going to be the body. This is, let's say it is the expression of power, right? Let's simplify this, make this really, really easy. So in a synopsis here, when we work with the nervous system, we're talking about the function of your brain as manifested through the communication pathway of the spinal cord, expressing itself in the body. So if we have a problem in the communication pathway between this area, then we are going to have a symptomatic presentation. And that symptomatic presentation is going to cause issues for you, right? That's going to come into the presentation that many of you come into. So when we have this issue, we get symptoms. And that's because we have a traffic wreck, right? So we can play this another way. We can have our brain, and our brain is going to drive a car, and the car is going to drive down the spinal cord, which is your highway, and then your body, right, is your destination. Well, if you live in DFW and you have a massive semi wreck on the information highway, it's going to cause a problem, and it's going to congest your brain, and it's going to congest the body. It's going to create symptoms, right? That's the biggest thing that you all are concerned about. So for us, when you come into a practice, when you come into a upper cervical doctor, we are here to evaluate the integrity of what we said up here, your nervous system, right? And how we evaluate the integrity of your nervous system, you do this all the time. I think you're just unaware of it. You go to the doctor, you get a blood pressure, you get a heart rate, they run a temperature on you, they do a visual screening test. Maybe they check your memory. They ask you how you're feeling. They want to know all these things, right? This is all an expression of your nervous system. So it's really fascinating to me when I say, hey, the upper cervical world is focused on the integrity of the nervous system. Many of you freak out. There's no need to freak out. The idea of what we're trying to do is we are trying to look at how well does my brain and my body talk to one another, right? How well is this communication pathway? Now, if there is a breakdown in that at any point in time, you are going to have a breakdown in your performance of your brain and the performance of your body, and you are going to present as someone who is sick. And now it's our job inside the upper cervical world, which is a discussion for another day, to look for the point where that breakdown is taking place in your nervous system. For today's lesson and for today's understanding, our job is to remember very basic second grade things: brain, brain stem, spinal cord, human body, right? This makes up your nervous system. We don't need to get more complicated than that, right? Some of you want to talk about fight or flight, rest and digest, vagal nerves. You want to start naming things off. I don't think we need to do that. I think that becomes problematic. It's too much of a good thing, too much information. I think it's very, very simple for us to ask the question, is my nervous system performing, or is my nervous system malfunctioning? If it's one of those things, right, we can say, hey, you don't need upper cervical. You do need upper cervical. It's very straightforward. It's a very, very easy conversation to have with a patient. It's very, very simple. Now, fixing this is not easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. But today, what I want you to gather from this conversation, or what I want you to glean from this, is that your nervous system is composed of your brain, your brainstem, your spinal cord, which ultimately is an expression of the human body. Next, we will start talking about the function of the nervous system, and more importantly, what happens when it breaks down and how we quantify it. I hope you learned something today, and I hope this second grade refresher may give you some more power and understanding that when a doctor says nervous system, we don't mean your muscles. We don't mean your heart. We don't mean your ligaments, right? We don't mean any of those things, right? We're not musculoskeletal doctors. We are nervous system doctors. And by nervous system, we mean your brain stem, your spinal cord, and how that is affecting or impacting the expression of intelligence in the human body. I'll be back next week with another great session to discuss these things and how we evaluate the nervous system. Thanks so much, you all, for tuning in today. We'll talk soon.